I just finished playing Half-Life for the first time in 2024. I'm here to give you my review, and whether or not it holds up to the games of today. Half-Life is a first-person shooter adventure game that follows the protagonist Gordon Freeman, a theoretical physicist, as he navigates through the Black Mesa Research Facility. After an experiment goes awry in the facility, hostile aliens are released into the world. Developed by Valve Corporation and released in 1998, players traverse a variety of scientific and industrial settings, solving puzzles, battling both alien creatures and government troops, and uncovering the secrets behind the catastrophic events. Half-Life took me just under 16 hours to complete and over 600 deaths. I review each game I play on the basis of 5 different categories. The first is the gameplay, the tightness of the controls and how it feels to play the game, the difficulty level and if it feels right for the game, and how it measures up to other games within its genre. The second category is the ambiance of the game, the noises, the music, and how immersed I get into the world. Third category is the look of the game, the art style, the graphics, and do I enjoy looking at the world around the gameplay. The fourth category is the story. How well is this story told through its chosen medium? How well does the story work with the ambiance and the look? Do they enhance each other or do they distract from each other? This category can be somewhat tricky because it's based on expectations. So a game that's sold to me as a story game is going to have a lot more expectations placed on it than, let's say, a roguelike that only was built around its gameplay mechanics. The fifth category is the X Factor category. How does this game make me feel at my core? Does the score based on the first 4 categories feel right? And ultimately, did I enjoy my time with the game? This category is kind of a cheat code for me to truly give a game that I feel it deserves, which is ultimately all that matters in a subjective review. The controls were really well done in this game. At first, they were a little tricky to figure out because you move so fast when moving in any direction, but after a few hours of gameplay, it felt very smooth. The aiming with the weapons was easy enough, but switching between them felt a little clunky. Once again, this got solved by just playing the game for a few hours and then you kind of figure it out. The difficulty level of this game is a little tricky to discuss. It's quite a tough game, but I don't think that's a bad thing, and it wasn't overly frustrating. Having the ability to save whenever and wherever you want meant that you got to set your own checkpoints. So while sections of fighting the government officials was incredibly difficult, it was easy to endlessly try and beat the section over and over again. So I really enjoyed the difficulty level in this game. With any shooter game, it should feel good to use the guns provided, and I thought this game did an incredible job with its guns. Each gun felt great in their own way. The puzzle of bullet preservation was really fun. You had to use the right guns at the right times to maximize efficiency. With an exploration/adventure game, I think about how often do I not know where to go and how tricky it is to find the right path to take. I despise not knowing where to go next, so I was relieved to find that this game makes it quite easy for you to find the right path and follow that direction. I loved a lot of the inventive exploration puzzles they put into this game, with the difficulty coming from the enemies along your route, and surviving long enough to complete the task you need to complete. Overall, I give the gameplay section an 8 out of 10. The noises in the game were all great. I always knew where and when an enemy popped out because they would each make their specific noise. This is where they succeeded, and it created a creepy atmosphere to try and escape this building on my own. There was literally no music, and I hated that. While I understand the choice in this game, I just love music that elevates games, and there was nothing here. I do get immersed in this world because we are assuming the role of George Freeman, and around him is silence. All we hear are our own footsteps and the noises the enemies make. It did create a really good suspenseful vibe, but personally I like more music and more ambiance. For this category, I give the game a 6 out of 10. The art style of this game is amazing for 1998. I really thought they did a fantastic job to make the game look as well as it does. The graphics are also amazing, everything hit where it was supposed to hit, and I didn't feel hindered by them whatsoever. It's tough for a game made in 1998 to stand up to the games of today in this category. So while I still want to acknowledge that at that time it was literally the best you could get, today it is a thing that you will have to get over to enjoy this game. The graphics are old, that is just the reality. Overall, I give The Look a 7 out of 10. Half-Life is a story game, however it's not a common story game that explains everything through cutscenes. You get to experience the escape of this alien-filled building with no interruptions to explain. You experience it how it happens to you. You figure everything out as the character does. The story is told brilliantly through this way. I get to draw my own conclusions of what the fuck is going on. And I never got the story told to me. I figured out why these monsters were fighting me and why the government did not want me to escape alive. The magic would have been lost if there was a cutscene explaining all those things to me. This works very well with the ambiance because instead of me controlling a character through the story, I was the character. There wasn't any extra music to keep me engaged, just the sounds of my footsteps and hoping I never hear the headcrab squeal when I turn the corner. The story and the ambiance work incredibly well together. So while I didn't particularly enjoy the ambiance on its own, the choices they made really enhanced the story. And so for that, the story gets a 9 out of 10. At my core, I really enjoyed the 16 hours of Half-Life that I played. The score based on the other categories is a 7.5 out of 10. This is mostly a result of bad ambiance and old graphics, which are not really the fault of the game. I think Half-Life should ultimately be an 8 out of 10, so the X Factor category will round that up. I did really enjoy my time with the game. It had some difficult moments, but never too difficult to figure out. The fact that you can save whenever you succeeded a difficult section is the reason this felt good. If the checkpoints were harder, it may have devolved into frustration, but I got to set my own checkpoints. Therefore, I was always moving forward at a good pace. If I was ranking Half-Life based on when it came out, it's a 10 out of 10. I am absolutely in awe that this game is 25 years old. However, my rule has always been that I am ranking the game as it is now compared to other games as they are now. I give no extra points for the simple fact that a game is older because I wouldn't know where to draw my lines and how old gets how many points. Half-Life absolutely holds up against some of the best games of this decade and is absolutely worth your time. But since it's come out, video games have been constantly pushing the limits of what they can do. And Half-Life unfortunately just has to fall beneath some of the very best. For a game that came out in 1998 to receive a score of 8 out of 10 in 2024, it needs to be special. And special Half-Life absolutely is. Case closed.